Volume started. So we'll start with a welcome. We'll start with Jeff.
Thank you, Mark. I've been reading the bits of the Christmas story over the last few days and not getting it ready for church, but just I thought I'd read it through. And it's funny how different countries have different sort of arrangements for marriage. And the Jewish one in those days, and now, if you've got enough money, families arrange it so that my son meets with your daughter and maybe marriage is sort of arranged by the two families. And it was certainly like that in the days when Mary was going to have Jesus. She had an appearance from an angel who said, "You're a favoured woman, you're going to have a baby." But Mary said, "I'm a virgin. You know, I can't have a baby." And the angel explained why. You're going to be the Son of God, one of the Most High. And Mary sort of came to terms with that. But then she must have thought, how am I going to tell Joseph? I thought about that. I thought, gosh, how does she tell Joseph? She's got to say to him, "Look, I'm pregnant, okay?" And he must have thought, what? Well, yeah. And then in another gospel, he plans to sort of not marry her. And it goes on, and he has a dream of an angel coming to him and saying, "This is okay. This is God's son come to earth. You can take her." And he does, and they get married. And I was going to say, and it ends happily ever after. It does, doesn't it? But I thought, how does Mary, who's been visited by an angel, come to terms with something like that to tell your future husband? You know, she's a virgin, and she's got to say, "Look, sit down a minute, and I've just got to tell you something a bit sort of private, really." Okay, so he sits down, and then she tells him, and he must have thought, and this has already gone round the village, but he had a dream about his wife having a baby, and it's going to be God's son. So eventually he said to her, "I know, I had a dream about this, like you had an angel in you. It's all what's God's plan." And I thought, oh, I was glad to have read that yesterday and today. It was really good, I think. Yeah, we don't read all that a long time ago. You know, we know the Christmas traditions, but when I thought of poor Mary sitting there thinking, "I've got to tell him now, I've got to tell him, and he's not going to like it." And he knew all about it already. Fantastic. I think that's the way God works. Let's pray. Lord, we may meet many difficult situations in our lives, and even as members of the council. Help us, Lord, in difficult times to tell the truth, to have open ears, to listen to the truth, and make right judgments. And for this sort of thing, we ask your help. Lord, we ask that you will just bless us and use us in our council meeting today, that we may do the right things for our town. Thank you, Lord, for our town. Thank you for the fantastic Christmas things that have happened so far. We just thank you that we're a lively town when it comes to doing special things. We thank you for our council in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Jeff. There's food for thought on that one today. Right, item 1 on the agenda, to receive and agree apologies and the reasons for absence.
Apologies I have had from Councillor Gear, Councillor Elliott, Councillor June Williams and Councillor Newland.
Okay. Thank you, Philip. Item 2, to receive declarations of interest and consider members' submitted dispensation requests. So any declarations of interest? No. Item 3, chair's discretion, any matters or announcements for information only. Laura?
Two potentially.
Dan, any more? Sarah? Anyone from anyone? We can get a meeting into the chair's discretion.
Sorry, mine's on the agenda, aren't you?
Is it?
Yeah.
Right, cross you out. Item 4, to determine which items, if any, of the agenda should be taken with public excluded.
Don't think there is anything that's on the agenda that isn't or can't be public knowledge at this point.
Okay, so no part B today. Good. Moving on to item 5, public participation. Norman, a good friend.
Yeah.
Higher attendance record than anybody else in the council.
Yeah, well, it's on the county knots, and it's on the board over there, right, so. Yeah, chairman of the council, years ago. Can I ask, I don't say it down, my son, not unintelligent, but he's an intelligent bloke. But when he said to me one day, he said, what is Ilfracombe 1? And I'm not too certain myself, but I can remember the roads here, they used to come when we had meetings here. And there was a cross. One didn't want to go to, anyhow, I know the gentleman who did it. And I can say that in all honesty, the man worked exceptionally hard to make Ilfracombe 1. And I do know that the people from here went to London and they understood what he was on about, and I think they congratulated him and other councils in the country took on his advice of what he did. But what it says to me, what is exactly Ilfracombe 1? It's not the Ilfracombe Town Council, it's another section of the Ilfracombe Town Council. Well, I'd be right in saying that.
Yeah, it's basically the delivery arm of town council. So it's a separate company, if you like, co-joined with the council. And the advantage of being separate from the council is they can apply for grants and good things like that. And so when we want to make things happen, they're the ones that can get the funding and make it happen. That's in a nutshell. If you want a longer answer, it's.
I just years ago when you come to the top, yeah. And he just say he gets funds for certain things, where if it was the Ilfracombe Council itself, they wouldn't get the funds.
Yeah, I mean, for the budget that we have for precept, the money that the good people of Ilfracombe give us, and that £7 a month that we get per household, that filters back to us. We're a little constrained with that, so having a delivery arm of another company bolted to us allows us a lot more flexibility and fundraising.
Now, can I ask one more silly question? It's gone past now. Can you tell me why that the Ilfracombe Town Council didn't put up the original strings of lights across the town? Would it be because the expenditure of putting them up? Sarah knows.
Laura, but yeah, do you mean the big ones?
Yeah,
The 20 ones? They are designed to go on a double catenary wire. So we've been putting them up for years and we should never have put them up because they should be on a double catenary. And what's happened is over the years with the storms that we've had, they've been a bit battered. So they're kind of not really that fit for purpose, and they're probably not as safe as they probably should have been. So the option we've got is that we either have to put up a second catenary wire to be able to hang them, or we don't hang them. And at the moment, we're not hanging them. So
No, not that.
yeah, so from a health and safety perspective, we're not hanging them up. But
Would that go up again?
it will be down to the constraints of the budget and whether or not the precept goes up. There is funding in there to upgrade the lights that we've already got because we've made the changes. But that's in the budget to be agreed by council tonight, and if it goes ahead, then yes, the lighting that we've got will be improved in some capacity. But that'll be down for a later decision.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
And if you want to know more about One Elphinstone, if you look on the website, and then if you look at the website,
Fine.
you teachers crowd, lovely big bit. Would you like
I
to?
did not just want to say, on the meeting that we had in Berlanti regarding the fifth group, Terrell was well attended. And I think there was a lot of discussion and a lot of questions, and it was a really good,
Yeah, it's all
we
the
hope
right.
we're going to be able to, take from that meeting to the powers that be, not really possible. Yes, it's an ongoing fight.
Yeah.
Which is going on.
It's like 70, 80 people.
Yes,
Yeah. See a proposal in there, but that's probably down to Sarah's a bit later on, or your report.
Sorry, Anne.
Your report mentions that until.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, thank you for that, you two gentlemen. You're welcome to stay or go if you see. Item 6, to approve and adopt the minutes of the full council meeting of the 10th of November. Update from any actions taken from previous minutes. So are there any matters arising from the last minutes or anything like that?
I don't think there's anything that isn't going to be part of this meeting.
Okay, okay, so I would propose them as a true and correct record, if I could get a seconder.
Sure.
DJ? All in favour? Those against? Abstentions? No, good. Item 7, minutes of the staffing meeting and to note approved recommendation. Back to me, put the other hat on now. We've got one item there, S2511-10.1, recommendation to agree proposed staffing budget reset to include all increases to wages and future employment opportunities. Has anybody had a chance to look at that? Basically, we're making sure we can give all the pay rises, pay the wages, and we have certain staff members to hire, and we've budgeted for that as well. So, any questions on that? But I will propose that we adopt those. Can I get a second then? George, all in favour? Anybody against? Abstentions? Right, all in favour? Good. Item 8, minutes of planning committee meeting to note and approve recommendations. June Williams.
Hello, Mayor. Sorry, from councillor Julian's absence, I've been asked to stay. So these are the minutes from the meeting held on the 17th of November. I ask that you note and recommending for approval.
They're just to be noted then that they're, any queries on them, anyone can ask, but.
Good.
I won't open my strawberry.
I'll be honest, it's the noisiest sweet you could have brought in for everybody. And as we're recording this meeting, I would imagine that the public are going to enjoy the noise of every single packet that just got opened. But Merry Christmas.
Yeah. Festivities. Item 9, moving on to the minutes of the finance and general purposes meeting. Councillor Huggins with 2 items.
Yeah, so we've got the report and obviously I'd be very happy if you noted it. One thing I'd flag up before we go into 9.1, 9.2 is that during the meeting, we had a sort of informal discussion about what's coming up for the council in January or February. And it's about the second loan that council have to take out to repay the loan we've currently got for the Merseyside fire service. So it's really just a flag up that in the next couple of months we've got to decide between 1 of 2 options. One option would be that we decided to take up our loan from Public Works Loan Board, which we were granted last March. And has an option which runs until this March, which we haven't taken up, but that option to use that loan is still there. And the other option is to say that we're not going to take that one up. We're going to wait until maybe April or May or June, and take out a loan with somebody else, assuming that we are able to get another loan. So that was something that we talked about. I'm just mentioning it, it's something that we can park, we're obviously parking for tonight, but we'll have to come back to it in June, in January or February, because that option for PWLB loan will expire in March.
Am I right in understanding that we might still extend the first offer, but we can't do that till the 11th hour? So,
Yes, we would have to already let the PWLB loan option lapse. So that will lapse in March. I think that the brokers that we've used may be able to get us a fresh proposal from Merseyside Fire Service or from another counterparty. But that wouldn't happen until April or May. It would have to be just a couple of months before the fire service loan is due to be repaid.
okay, thanks for that. Councillor Craft?
Very good point, Trevor's raised. The other thing, of course, to mention is the fact that were we paying the Public Works Loan Board loan, we would of course also pay off a minute amount of the capital by just reopening the same loan with Merseyside or Cinnamon. We haven't paid any capital. You would have to, I think we've got some capital that we put to one side. They don't like lending out odd numbers. So you ought to perhaps, in my view, or perhaps stick another little drink in that reserve pot to make up for a capital expenditure, which you would have paid by now had we have gone Public Works. I would say,
That's something that we'll consider.
Yeah, we've parked £30,000 that council agreed to put towards the cost when we thought that we were going to take out a loan for £950,000 from PWLB. And we agreed as a council, we're going to put 30,000 to one side to help us pay for this, pay for the acquisition cost. In the end, we didn't use it, we didn't need it, because we got a much bigger loan from the Merseyside Fire Service. So that 30,000, it appears still in our books, in our reserves, but it won't actually be spent until the next financial year, which is when we will repay the Merseyside loan. But yes, we can certainly put more reserves in.
Answer your question, councillor?
yeah, but it isn't a big question. It's just, as long as everyone's aware, we could go on borrowing £1 million out in tonight, and it would work, because ultimately 50 years time, £1 million will get a loaf of bread. So it kind of works, but normally you would try and chip away.
Yeah, the advantage of the loan that we've got through Council Grant Initiative was it's a loan that's much cheaper than the PWLB loan that we would have taken. We're paying about £43,000 in interest for the current loan. For the other loan, it would have been at over 60,000. So it makes sense. It made sense then, and it makes sense now. We're using it really to try and wait for interest rates, long-term interest rates, to go down. Stubbornly, they haven't been going down. But the recent budget, which annoyed a lot of ordinary people, actually pleased the long-term debt market and the bond market, and looked on it very favourably. So, in theory, then the rates will start to go down. So we have an advantage if we can postpone the loan, actually seal the loan.
Yes.
But we need to be sure we will do.
Good. 9.2 on that as well.
No, you need to agree 9.1.
Okay, 9.1. So, right, so we get a proposal for 9.1, which I did yourself. Yeah, I happily second. Or John was first. So. All in favour? Anybody against? Abstentions? Oh, good, thank you. Moving on to 9.2 then.
So let's
Yeah, Steve, that's your report. Yes.
Hello, Steve. Okay, so I put together a report for F&GP because I'd like some money to pay for some additional hours for the wellbeing team. So basically, I'll read this from back to front, but basically it looks like we've got an underspend around £70,000 in staffing costs. And I was looking at the wellbeing team, what the wellbeing team have been doing, and because we've had a cutback in hours from the PCN contract, we have had to scale back some of the other activities we do around the town. And we've managed this quite well, and we've had a surplus of hours that we've sort of banked that been able to pay for some of this work. And that type of thing is things like, and this is the sort of the nice to have, things like wellbeing Wednesdays, wellbeing walks, memory cafe, physical activity sessions, and then some additional sort of engagement with the public sort of in the health and wellbeing sort of forum of bits and pieces. And because of the cuts that we've had with the PCN contract, we're still able to pay for everything, but all of this sort of good extra activity has now been reduced. So we're still doing it, but it's at a very reduced rate. So I saw that we had a great underspending staff hours, and I thought that it would be a good idea to use some of this money to put back towards the wellbeing team to provide those services, but also as the community engagement officer is not here at the moment, for them to pick up some of the bits and pieces that she was doing as well. So the proposal is basically that we provide up until the end of the PCN contract, and this is just a period up until May 2027, that we allocate £15,855.75 for 75 weeks of wellbeing services within the town, which will greatly benefit the community. So that's my proposal, report. After you cleaned up it.
And that fits in with the previous motion we had in the staffing of budgeting staff, because there's still enough left for that. But that's good, so can we get a proposal for that then? Proposal, Greg, second that. Jordan. All in favour? Against? Abstentions? No? Thumbs up. There you go, spend wisely, Steve. Item 10 on the agenda, a report from the proper officer.
Just bear with me while I get through at least 80 pages of budget that need to get to my report. I don't think there's very much in my report at the moment. I'm sure you've obviously read it very excitedly. Obviously, Fall Street catenary wires, I don't know if anyone's been down there, but they've gone back up today. The lights will hopefully be back up tomorrow, so they'll be all back up and running. And we've not had to pay for that. So North Devon Council very kindly funded funded that bill, but they've been future-proofed, so they're all individual wires now. So if anything was to fail, you're not going to have all of them come down. It'll be one at a time. So that's all sorted. Obviously, there will be on costs, but we'll factor that in as budgets with yearly maintenance, etc. The nursery project at the moment, just to give you an update, I did get an email today, or I chased up today. The Action for Children, Action for Children have had their properties team come and have a look at it. They've got a meeting tomorrow. Hopefully that will start bringing in some figures so that they will know what their business plan is going to be. So I'm probably not going to get much out of it now. I have put them on to Steve, obviously, as I'm away, but they'll be working on that, and hopefully they are talking about being open in some form of capacity by February. So to tie in with a visit from somebody who I cannot remember who is coming. But so that's positive that they're looking forward and they're really keen to kind of obviously get something in place. So, obviously LGR and clusters at the moment, we're not moving very far forward with that, but I'll chase that up in the new year. In connection with LGR and neighbourhood area committees, obviously all the proposals have now gone into into government, sorry. I'd encourage you to try and look through them. I'll be honest, just 2 of them are over 800 pages between the 2. I think I dread to even think what the other ones are. So, but obviously there are other resources that could give you some highlights and tips, and I've sent you that link a number of times. But from what I understand, public consultation will be early part of next year, so we will need to have some form of opinion individually or collectively on which proposal we like. Neighbourhood area committees are the bits I would suggest you definitely look at, because that is what will affect town councils and our voice within the new organisation of whatever that's going to be. So, needless to say, Devon County Council being quite good at outlining what they think a neighbourhood area committee should look like. The 541 is less so. That seems to be a work in progress with us, which doesn't really give us much hope or inclination as to which way they're going to go on that. So, but read it as you wish. Replacement bus shelters, pretty much the one on the high street's now been done. So we are pretty much, all of them pretty much done, except for one, I think. And that's it. There isn't much else other than obviously a lot of work's gone on with the budget and various bits and pieces, so.
Just picking up on the neighbourhood area committees. I don't know how and why and when we'll be able to put input into this, but that is the only thing in this that matters, to be honest. Whether 3,263 carers are employed by someone in County Hall or someone in Brinsworthy, it makes absolutely no difference to us at all, very little difference to us at all. What needs to happen is that these area committees need to be as local and as I say we need to be in control, it's not our business, that we need to get ourselves as wedged into those places as possible, even if it means talking with funny people like you, Martin. But we've got to do that and get all that done, because if we do not, if you look at Devon's proposal for a neighbourhood area committee, Devon's proposal for their area committee is pretty much North Devon Council. You know, that's what they're looking at, the area committee. It's a little bit less than that.
Yes, a bit less.
It's most of North Devon Council land. It's just one committee. You know, and I don't know any people they're busy putting on it. But it's got to be much more local for that. And we're going to be kicking and screaming and getting right into these things and make sure that we're part of it.
The downside between the 2, I mean, I'm only talking of the 2 proposals because I obviously don't know very much about the Exeter and the Plymouth and the Torbay proposal, because to be fair, I think they're quite unachievable.
Yeah, they don't.
They literally sort themselves out and Devon be damned to the rest. But though between those 2, the neighbourhood area committees that Devon are proposing follow the PCN borders, so the health borders. So what you say is correct. The north, it would almost be like the North Devon Council border, but split in 2. So it'd be us and South Molton, and the South, and Barnstaple would be its own neighbourhood area committee, and the surrounding parts of Barnstaple. Unfortunately, the downside is that the 451 model, we don't really know what they're proposing for the neighbourhood area committees.
I think we should be driving that.
Yeah.
So I say, like, talking to Martin, talking to Linton,
Yeah.
actually going to North Devon.
But
This is what do you want?
No, but that's where the clusters are starting, and that's what we've already started trying to move forward with that. We've obviously been to North Devon Council and tried to put that in place, and at the moment we're not getting very far with that. So if I get no further in January, the town clerks of North Devon Council, so that would be Linton, Lynmouth, ourselves, Barnstaple, South Molton, and I think Braunton's part of that as well, even though they're not a town, but we've included Braunton in. We will have to start putting something together ourselves to try and start moving it forward, because we just don't want to sit on our hands at the end of the day.
Someone's
So-
West End, very hard.
Yeah, and it's very achievable. We're just in of a mindset that when we had our meeting, we didn't want to go in gung ho and just kind of look as if we're trying to take over whatever a cluster should look like. I think parishes and towns are quite precious about what they should have a bit of input as well, so we just didn't want to.
Yeah.
But we're pushing, we'll see.
Yeah, I think it's, you can say, I think it's great that we're taking that approach, being proactive, because there's a lot of speculation that although, certainly to start with, these committees might just be like talking shops. There's also speculation that in the future they could be given some power, so things like planning could eventually be devolved from the unitary council down to a local area committee group. And so they could actually start having almost statutory powers, because if you like, we could potentially be rebuilding the North Devon Council, for example.
Yeah, alongside the police and NHS.
So-
yes.
If they're not given those powers, they will become talking shop in Somerset. I think that's what's happened in Somerset, where they don't have the same powers, or powers that we would want.
No,
Don't want that.
but it's still an unknown until we know what government decide is going to be the way model they want to look at. We're still a bit in the dark. So,
One last question on the nursery, did you
Yes.
get any idea of a rent plan?
no, until I get what their business model is going to be in the business plan, we haven't really got that discussion. I think they're trying to get that in place first. And then I said that we'll then discuss. I've given them the information that there will be some.
Yeah.
Leeway, but obviously I've not given them any indication as to what that value would be or what it would look like.
Okay.
So,
Fair enough. Just wanted to make sure. Thank you for that. Any more for Laura's report? Move on to item 11, RFO report.
And so, received my report, just to say, I apologise for the outstanding customer payments due. I thought I left it 31st of October, that was actually, should have been 30th of November. So that was, the outstanding in November, at the end of November. I have contacted all of those, and a few of them have actually paid since, so it's still like our normal group that don't. So, are there any questions about any of that? So the invoices for improvement, we've got a list of those and an addendum of ones that come in over the weekend. So, is there any questions about any of those invoices? Would I have somebody to propose I pay them, somebody to something? Recommend?
I'll say. All in favour? Anybody against? Intentions? No, good. Thank you very much, Sarah. All right, now we have item 12. Programme manager report, reading 1 Monday. Read Steve.
Brilliant. Okay, we get to that. So basically, one thing I wanted to touch on in today's my report is about the Link Centre, really, is that Laura and I have been doing some work on formulating the business plan for the Link Centre to try and make it stack up. There's a number of projects or proposals that we could use the Link Centre for. They're in their infancy. They range from things like expanding Bell's Place, to looking at youth provision, to trying to reincorporate mental health services, those types of things. And those projects are in their infancy and are being worked up. So we were looking at the business plan in terms of two things, about how we could make the Link Centre run in a very minimalistic way, covering cost things like electricity, rates, those types of things. And also looking at the maintenance work that needs to be done and how we can look at doing that in a proportionate way, or at least in a realistic way, rather than the 150 grand that's been reported. We had a email last week from Devon County Council estates or building people, and they have said they want 130,000 for the building. which goes completely against what we discussed previously at the building being handed over, and sort of makes any proposal dead in the water. Councillor Wilson has sent an email to another councillor in the cabinet supporting our claim that it should be free because it's dead in the water, and Laura also spoke to a senior manager at the Property Truth Commission who was shocked as well. So we're sort of a bit in limbo on this. I feel that it's really important that we give this the best shot we possibly can to keep this building for the public in Ilfracombe, because everything keeps getting eroded and taken away, and obviously the business plan needs to stack up. There's no way it's going to stack up if we come back and say, can we have 130 grand, because we just haven't got it. So so that's the one main thing I wanted to highlight really. We're sort of a bit in limbo at the moment, but I will press this with them and try and make sure that, you know, we do get an answer, because there's no point in wasting any more time on the business plan if they want money for it. So that's basically where we are with that. And just another point as well that I'll make is we had one of the key theme meetings that we've been discussing beforehand, going through the theme groups and looking at where there's gaps and stuff. And that was a really good meeting with the theme leads. It was such a good meeting that it ran well over 2 hours, and we're going to have another meeting before going back to the board and stuff. So that was very encouraging, and looking at those gaps to do with deprivation, housing, all of the big things that we know blight the town, and how we can look at development projects and looking at funding that will combat those things. So those are the two main things I'd like to highlight today.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Any questions for Steve? Councillor Pratt?
Surely the answer with, and that's discussed in the link, so that's going to be all in Chinese whispers, isn't it? I would think someone's got the arse end of the stick, you would think.
Well, it's come from a relatively sort of senior-ish person within Devon County Council. I think he was part of the building control, the building team, the base team, and it was our belief.
Devon County or North?
Devon County. Okay. So I've gone back and said exactly that it's, you know, it's ridiculous to have to pay for a building.
But wouldn't, I mean, this sort of popped up really in one equity, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it be better to sort of, or certainly not better to, but in addition to, poke the secretariat and get them to get shitty about it as well?
Yeah, but I think just in this case, because I think it might be an error somewhere along the line. I don't. Yeah. But it is a case of that Councillor Wilson's got involved as well, and then we'll put pressure on. And if hopefully they might come back and say, if your business plan is robust enough, then we won't be speaking anything for it. But if not, then I can get the secretary to push that as well.
In fairness, the senior manager that I spoke to knew that they were going to be asking for a value on it, because it had been mentioned at the one Ilfracombe meeting that we'd had. But when I spoke to that person again at the Property Truth Commission, they were shocked at the value that was being put on it. He thought that there would be a certain value, but certainly nothing to that extent. So I'm not sure if that would mean that he will then go back as well. And obviously he's part of that one Ilfracombe Secretariat, so he's definitely got my verbally face to face. So yeah, we'll wait and see. That was obviously only in part last week, so keep going. And the downside is that they are expecting it, aren't they? They're expecting to try and offload the building by the next financial year. So decisions, they're going to have to start making some decisions very quickly. Otherwise, we're not going to be putting the work in, and that won't, then their deadline's gone.
Okay. Work in progress then.
Very much so.
Resting on Steve's shoulders in your absence, I would imagine.
And everything else.
Very sturdy shoulders. Fine.
So we move on to item 13, reports and proposals from local town councillors. Do we have any?
Nobody's given anything in unless anyone's got a verbal report of any kind. No.
Okay. To receive reports from county and district councillors, we have a report from councillor Walsh.
Thank you, yeah, I haven't got any questions, the thing I would highlight, 'cause some of it's been covered tonight, we're covering the libraries and. Got a bit on LGR, is the trade waste changes at the council, which have been discussed at the strategy and resources. I don't know, June was at the meeting. But I listened into the meeting. It looks to me like they're very much in favour of it being actually scrapped. That's where I felt it's going.
The
But
report is pretty black and white.
it is.
You know, the two choices are you are stupid or B, you cancel the service. I mean, it really is written like that.
So, sorry,
But I felt, I don't know. There's a lot, I don't know, I just felt something wasn't quite right with it.
They realise it's a non.
Statutory.
It's non-statutory.
You said the word. Like.
But I can't understand why it's been allowed to be run at so much cheaper than everyone else's services for so long. No one thought, well, hang on a minute, why aren't we charging what everyone else is charging? So now, of course, there's this massive difference.
But they made money last year, didn't they? Yeah, before it was 2 years, they made money.
About £70,000 loss they're talking about at the moment, and having to compensate people when it's not collected and.
so are they basically suggesting that they're going to be shutting down trade waste at North Devon Council and that anyone that has that has got to go to a third party?
The problem with Jones is a councillor from Witherbridge, and he's really got his backside in his hand because some of these constituents won't be able to get trade waste. Because Biffa, well, obviously, they won't go 2 miles out to Witherbridge, turn right and go down that lane for a 15 quid bin.
And North Devon Council had smaller vehicles that they were using, so they could, and they did cover a third, they said they were covering a third of businesses in them, so it's not an insignificant number of businesses.
It's £1 million a year.
And we don't know, I think they surveyed about, I don't know, 10 businesses to find out what they were gonna do. Because they couldn't get hold of anyone else in a short space of time, so I thought, well, it's not a particularly big sample of how, basically there were a few questions about what's the coverage like as an alternative? It might be all right for a cookie and it might not be, I don't know. People have got trade, people that they know, ask them now about how they're going to manage.
So is this, when is the decision being made on the trade waste?
Go back to January.
In January? Is this something that, as, I mean, I'm asking you as North Devon councillors, do you have a feeling that this is something they're going to push as a devolved service in any way, or is it literally just a shutdown and that's it?
Yeah.
Show it to
They're not even going to, okay.
It's a hassle to run, it costs money. It's not statutory.
And because businesses don't recycle as much as households do, it's pulling their recycling figures down, only about 13% business stuff is recycled.
Okay.
So if they can get rid of that, their recycling rates will go up.
And the food waste dues are now collection, which is a separate, which isn't, so they're going around doing that, separate companies doing that, presumably, know nothing about that. So their argument is there's already someone going around collecting trade food waste, and people have managed to do that without a crisis, so.
Okay.
But we do, there are some unknowns, such as how, you know, can you get a trade waste service at the Grampus in Lee, for example, just dropping something out at the end? Would they get down there?
Yeah,
Yeah, they would, because
Maybe what you
it's
got.
great big trucks that go there anyway,
Yeah.
it's the big ones, yeah,
But
The
the
issue
additional
with
cost,
that is how many, if it's just the one in Lee,
yeah.
what they're gonna charge, if it's Biffa, it'll be done,
Oh, yeah,
they'll work out
it's
what it
expensive.
costs.
I'm just
So they're
thinking
sending the lorry down to Lee,
Yeah.
one bin, drive away again.
that some of the holiday accommodation with trade waste, and they take down at the mill.
Oh, yeah.
The old mill, you know, there are quite a few, but,
but it'll all be
But-
more expensive, so
oh, yeah,
places that are on the high street, I mean, I know here, maybe it's easy to get another service, but it's gonna be more expensive. Because if North Devon Council wasn't charging enough, so whatever happens, the prices will go up.
Actually, as well, I don't know if you know, but Coastal Recycling, who do
yeah.
trade
yeah.
recycling waste, they've just sold their business to Biffa. So
Oh.
we're now covered by Biffa. It was it was at the beginning of the month that Coastal disappeared. They say it's not worth their while. So, and they said, if you want a letter for that, Sarah.
Council, we're not getting down to council, that's where it started.
No, it's not, it's separate. Separate again. Yeah.
It's unrepeating, so.
So any more questions on councillor Wilson's report?
No, it just says, I actually saw that before I saw your report, it had been reported, there must have been somebody, was there somebody in a meeting from Devon Live or somewhere, or did somebody, one of the councillors, leak it out? Because it was online, you know, last week, wasn't it? It was.
Both, I think. Well, definitely there was a report.
Ah, right, and then they go on and. Yeah,
Universities have decided they want to go on because it's a hassle, that's the basis.
it's gonna go.
It's not such.
John?
I can give a quick, short feedback of a couple of the meetings I've been in the district. I bought my wrong book, I bought my predictor book rather than the one I put notes in the book. Trying to remember what I did. Governance, the auditors, both internal and external, went through lots of figures and said the district has been run very well. That was it for a lot of questions and stuff. That was basically there. The governance, the borders for the new wards in Ilford, the central one's been proposed. After a few discussions and personal discussions in the meeting, it got past it, it would go through to a second public consultation, which is out now. So if you can
That's
publicise that.
It's number 18 on our agenda.
All right, okay. Street marshals was brought up this, we pay 8,000 for a couple of days a week. Barnstaple have 7 days with £38,000 and the bill is £74,000 total, so we only paid 8,000 for two, but those figures came up and everyone was a good idea. But can we have more for the same price? No, okay. So that was that was governance. Crime and disorder, lots of police and stuff there telling us all these things about percentages and figures and stuff. All the same is report more and they can do more. Report more, they can do more. They are absolutely trying to get for the ASB, the antisocial behaviour, in everywhere in the area, North Devon, all the health, social, housing together to try and help sort out the problem before it becomes antisocial. But we're pulling the hairs out, trying to get people to come to agreements meetings to do it as we've all discussed here as well. That's about it. I've got a licensing tomorrow, so new taxi prices, I believe, is a big thing on the agenda tomorrow. I'll come back to you next meeting with what I come up with that. Sorry, I haven't got any more, but I can tell you who won Accrington and Bristol Rockford a couple of weeks ago.
Thanks for that, John.
So anyway, that's what
Thanks, John. Any questions for John? Oh, thank you very much, both of you.
So you had my update on the theatre, which was because it wasn't outside, it's going to the theatre going that long in the meeting, there was no more time for the meeting. And there was something else as well, which back to, there you go.
the Petrol Exeter. Is that the thing you were going to say?
We had a
It wasn't.
presentation on.
Oh,
But they are merging and that's now, that's done, isn't it? 4th of December, wasn't it?
that is after the council meeting.
Yeah, but it's the 4th, it's happened now.
It was, yeah. Yeah,
January's the signing of the papers or something.
sign the papers.
And again, that's because that's financial a little bit. Petrol have been running degree, they've been desperate to run a degree course and try and become sort of upgrade themselves. So if you say that you want to do a degree in pens, they're running a course for you, and there's people doing, they've got lecturers teaching one person on one degree course. So the finances have literally just been going out the door, and someone just noticed there's nothing left. But that people all sort it out.
Yeah.
There was something else.
You mentioned-
You actually, well, you brought out an email, because this is, yeah, now, well, they're read,
You know, about this.
Oh, but the Premier Inn, yeah, sorry, you've seen that, the Premier Inn they allocated £100,000 to the planning, to amend the planning. Which in a £10 million scheme is not a lot, but it does mean it's £100,000 worth of not dead in the water. So, you know, they're still holding on.
Have they made that, have the people from Korean made that presentation yet to the board with their salary?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was it, that was why it wasn't available for IRB. She rang me the following week and said they've had the meeting now, and they've given her the go ahead. Not given her the go ahead to spend 10 million, but they've given her the go ahead to spend 100,000 to redesign the building, to recost the work, get a price on it, then they'll make a decision. So, you know, and there was other submitted plans to North Devon Council, so the amended plans come through here.
I think on the landmark as well, I was really pleased to see they were upgrading the seats. I was there, was it 2 months ago, actually with your Trevor's other half, Catherine, and another neighbour. And first thing we said was, God, the seats. But particularly now when the cinema has not just got, you know, Studio 7, but they've upgraded already Screen 2, which is lovely. So for me, it looked as though if they don't do something with these seats, it looks as though they were winding down. So it was good to hear.
No, I'll get him up here in January, February and get him to talk about it, because I'm sort of passing him on third hand and it's not all come through brilliant. But I can kind of get what they're getting at. He knows it's a crap show. There's nothing they can do about it because they haven't got the money and big acts don't come to a 499 theatre. He said he's getting struggled to get people in the Queens. He's got to bribe them with a Peterborough one and sign 2 contracts to get them to come. But what he's doing is with whatever he's got, he's making as big a fuss of it as possible to expand the field of something going on, which makes sense, I guess. Well, that's if it works anyway.
And he also said that their welcome weekender was really successful.
Yes.
And it was incredibly well
Yeah.
attended, mostly by local people, and they sold far more wristbands, and I mean, I went to, I thought it was excellent. So, yeah, and they want to do that again, and more things like that.
Well, that's where they're getting this idea from for each, where they're going to the show. So the example he gives is like a Blondie tribute, which they know is coming, and it's the kind of thing that we used to motor about. But the example he gave was if he does a Blondie thing, he can do a film about punks, he can do a punk exhibition. Carol can get all the kids to go up to charity shop and then make something out of clothes to make punk clothing. So that thing that never used to be very exciting becomes like a thing, which is the theory of the weekend. You can walk around and do different things at the same time. So that's the plan, we'll see.
Thank you for that. Right, item 15, reports from working groups and council.
I didn't send one, I didn't have one this month, but I just could give 2 minutes quick verbal update, because the main thing last month was we're about to have 2 weeks of road closures in Lee, while we have the drains up by the Wesleyan Chapel, all the way down to the Grange, and work that had been planned even in you know, Paulstown back in, was it March, April time?
Yeah.
You know, it finally happened, took 2 weeks. If you speak to the ones in charge of the hotel site development, their lads could have done it in 3 days, but that's another story. But no, so it has now been done, and the only concern afterwards was on the opposite side of the road, next to the Wesleyan Chapel, the opposite side where the drains were done, all the rubbish and stone, whatever, from the works got shifted over that side, blocked those drains. So we're now hoping to get a machine out to unblock those because they're silted up, and so a bit of a problem moved to the other side. But overall, you know, it's really good and people are pleased, and particularly down by the drains, the work we've done there, the extra drainage at the dripping well, fingers crossed it will work. And you know, now that we're not going to have the maze at the top next year, we should see the benefit of that when the grass is grown. That was the main thing. And car park at the Memorial Hall, new system up and running, a couple of teething problems, but I mean, Trevor's on the whole committee as well, but I'd say nowhere near as many problems as I thought there were going to be for, you know, a new system so far, but it is quiet time and the weather's been awful, so that's it.
Good. Thank you, Pat. Right, item 16, correspondence, licenses and notices. We have some correspondence.
Yeah, we'll start with 16.1A, which is a report from the meeting that was held at the Lantern, the future of the healthcare in Ilfracombe, which obviously Ivan kindly alluded to earlier. I might, if you're happy, Trevor, hand over to you to give a brief overview because you were there. But because obviously Councillor Elliott, who sent in that correspondence, isn't here. But
Yeah,
wouldn't
so
mind.
there's not much more I can flesh out to the meeting, but basically we had up to 80 people, some people thought that 100 people come along. And the aim of the meeting really was to give people in Ilfracombe the chance to air their grievances, concerns, raise questions. There wasn't a premeditated plan or we wanted a particular call to action to achieve by the end of the meeting. It was really to have a talking shop to see what the mood of the town was, what issues people were worked up about, what they weren't worked up about. So we got really good attendance. We filled, I mean, people stayed for the whole 2 hours. We had Harrison representing Essendon Pharmacy, which was great. People from Devon Mind, Sarah Wilson was there obviously as well, representing Devon County Council, and people and healthcare professionals. So it was a good mixture of people with expertise in particular areas. And it was quite passionate at times. People were, it wasn't just sort of very formulaic. People really, you could tell that they really cared about what was happening. They were very upset that, for example, we had temporary closure of the minor entrance unit at Tyrrell that really struck a nerve. I think that the fact that the Integrated Care Board, which is the body that basically commissions services like the minor entrance unit, decided not to send anybody. And it's very much, it was a lopsided thing, that people were asking questions and banging on virtually on desks, and they weren't getting an answer from the people that were doing things which they were against. But I think that the next stage is it will come when we had this review of the Integrated Care Board carrying out. If you remember from previous council reports, their decision was to potentially permanently close it. It may be only provisional to close the MIU pending a report into minor entrance units that really across the county, and that's still ongoing. They won't. The ICB won't say when it will finish, or give an idea of what recommendations might be. So we're
not certain when it started, are they?
No, I mean they're basically not communicating, or already not giving answers to straightforward questions. So the upshot is, until they finish this report and make a decision, there's no point in us, I don't think, jumping into getting into battle, because we don't know what we're fighting there. But the next stage, once they publish what they're planning to do, it may not be good news. That's when I suspect, and Ivan can back me up or not, is that we will probably organise another public meeting when we actually decide what are we going to do, where are we going to protest, what are we going to do to find safe the MIU for service. But we need some back here. So that's where we are at the moment. Either of you want to, or to Sarah, any of
I
these
was
things.
just going to add that they have to do an equality impact assessment when they say they're going to change or close services, and they did do one, which I thought was a bit of a joke, to be honest, for the closure of the weekend service. And they have said that they will consult with all users and stakeholders. So that will be interesting to see when that comes out and what they find from it and what they do with it. But yeah, it's very frustrating how it's just impossible to get hold of them, get much of an answer, get much engagement from them. Same at county level, really, it's really hard to get them to engage. Yeah, that's really frustrating.
Well, a positive start for the sound of it, so. That's correct.
The only thing that might not be a total disaster is the fact the review is not into North Devon, the review is into Devon. But if you look at the provision, that map like it was 7 months ago. The south is awash with them, mind you, it's not a big exaggeration, but it's certainly a lot better off than we are up here. They've also got more population, so that's not going to be exciting. But if they are looking to gain efficiencies, I would say that that's more likely, if you've got like an exit, I think there's 2, only about a mile or so apart. I would think, I don't know, but it would be make more sense to me to close one of those, which would release a big chunk of budget to keep something up in North Open. So I really toss that in as a crumb of comfort. I mean, it might be a little nonsense, but when you read the actual review that they're undertaking, it's very much about reviewing the whole thing, and certainly up in the north, we're appalled compared to what we got in the south.
Excellent. Right, we move on to 16(1)B. Speak.
Can I just ask one question going back? Sorry, that report that Terry sent out, is that public viewing, that report? Can we push and publicise that on our socials? Okay, I'll make sure that gets done. So, I think I did ask, but I'm not sure that it has, so I'll get that out. So where am I at?
B, space use.
B.
Services.
Okay, I think I've circulated this report separately. And I think it was really just so that you saw what was going on. There isn't any proposal or anything kind of that we need to do at this moment, but it was just so that you knew what was happening. It'd been asked that it wasn't publicised to the public, so we've obviously done that as a kind of, it's not a part B discussion in any way, but obviously there's nothing else. Sarah, did I include you in on that one? I'm not
I have
sure.
seen it separately.
Okay, separately.
I guess the futures meeting.
Yeah.
And just to say, I think the report is brilliant and it does form the basis of quite a lot of things that we're deciding to do in futures with the young people.
So yes.
It's been very good to hear that.
So it's when it is more of a public document, obviously we'll push it out, but it was just so that members knew what was actually happening on in background.
Okay.
Okay.
C, the IBTA email.
Yeah, so this email was sent through, and I apologise actually, now looking at it, it's very small writing, isn't it? So this email was highlighted and brought to FMGP, but only as a almost like a chair's discretion because it had come in too late. So I put it in today just to get a decision on what has been proposed. So I'm kind of in your hands. So basically this is about going to sorry, the words have gone straight from my head. Branding, that's the word I was looking for. So it's about branding Ilfracombe. This happens a lot, I don't know. So yeah, it's about marketing and the branding of Ilfracombe and what the IBTA are doing, who they're speaking to, and the proposal with regards to workshops. So they're obviously requesting that we potentially put some funding towards it. They haven't exactly said exactly how much, but they've kind of intimated that there's this marketing budget and that there's money there. Of which so basically, just so that everyone's aware, we put aside every year £5,000 to go towards marketing. Obviously, we've not had a marketing communications officer and we don't as yet, but hopefully we will do. Steve will be interviewing that person next week with Trevor's help. But yeah, at the moment that money is still kind of sat there as a buffer for either that person to use for marketing of the town council and Ilfracombe overall, or to something along these lines. So just need your thoughts on whether or not you feel that this is something that's worthwhile discussing with the RTA and moving it forward or not.
I just throw in this background, is that when we talked about it at XGP, the feeling was that, we wouldn't make a decision on financing this, until the marketing officer had been recruited, because without, we don't say yes or no, but they're recruiting this person, it's their job to decide what money should be spent on, and you've got to trust that person to know what's best, so that's the initial feeling of the meeting.
Makes sense, so that's on hold then really till we get to the appointment.
Yeah, that's fine. I just needed to know so that I knew what the feel of the council is for me to go back on.
We're happy with
Is
that.
that everybody in agreement with that, just in case anyone's got any other thoughts? Okay, thank you.
Seems happy with that. Item 17, to review the library consultation, which was a comprehensive report.
Yeah, well, what I've done is rather than, because it's, having looked at the consultation, it's very difficult for us to respond as an organisation, because it's very much about everybody's personal reflection and everybody's personal feeling about the library. So I didn't want to try and draft a response on behalf of the council. I think we've already done a letter previously, which Councillor Elliott helped draft, and that went off to DCC. This was a while back before this obviously has come to our attention. I've kind of I put within the pack just the highlights so that you knew what it was. We've obviously since had an email from Councillor Elliott, which I think I circulated out to you all today. I appreciate that you probably have not quite had enough time to view it, but the crux of it is that we are what they referred to as a library classification B, and that means that we'll be getting a reduction in hours, or they're proposing a reduction in hours. It would mean that we are going it down from 5 days a week down to 4 days a week, and some of those are being dropped by, I think, half an hour, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they're all starting at 9:30 rather than starting at 9. So we're going from 33 hours a week to 27 hours a week. That's their proposal. So the consultation is public. Everybody has the opportunity to respond. So I very much encourage everyone to respond. But if there's anything more you want to do as a council, this is kind of the time that if you want to send another letter, as we did previously, to either Devon County Council or to Libraries Unlimited, whichever you want it to go to, then this is the time to let me know if you do want to do that.
One hesitates to bring politics into the town council, but there is a certain sense of schadenfreude over the fact in this particular scene, and the fact that we were accused of closing them and didn't. So everyone had to vote for the other side because they didn't close them, and now they closed them. There we are. But just a hint of schadenfreude in that.
I'll point out that discussions have been had with certain officers at Devon County Council about libraries. And we have been assured that the libraries will not close for the next year.
Yeah.
But we've not had anything or any other assurance outside of the next year. So whether this will eventually become a devolved service down to us, it is a potential that might be something that will come part as LGR. The other thing, sorry, so just quickly, is the other thing that you can consider, and should it come to that, is I know for a fact that Crediton have taken on some of the hours that have been cut as a council and have put staff into the library to be able to keep it open. So it's not something that we necessarily have to step back and accept. If there is something that you want to consider and as a council and propose that we do it, we'd obviously have to work out how that would work, but it is something that has been done. So that's why when they refer to, I can't remember the exact wording, but they refer to other additional considerations, being volunteers. I think they are alluding to the fact that obviously some councils have done exactly that. They've stepped in and taken over a few hours or a day a week. to help.
Yeah, you're right in that no, they said no libraries will close for the meantime. But yeah, I do tend to agree with you, Paul, that it's a little bit. I think the direction of travel is quite clear, the way that, and that's why, for me personally, I think we in Ilfracombe are making quite a fuss about this, because it's a slide towards something that Cornwall is being held up as the model, and I respect Councillor Cottle Humpkin, but I've had a disagreement with her about, and she's the Cabinet Minister for Libraries, about all of this, in that it's being held up as a model in Cornwall of how libraries can be devolved, and basically county councils can save shed loads of money by only running 4 libraries, which is what they run directly, and the rest are all run by town councils. So it will come as an option to town and parish councils, but whether they want to take them on and can afford to is a big matter. And the other thing that's held up, of course, is the community hub model, which is now being used as a model for running nearly everything. And I just feel at Ilfracombe we do enough as community, as volunteers, and certain things need to have a backbone of statutory service, especially in deprived communities. So I had a disagreement with her politely about it. I can see which way it's going. And, you know, for now, it seems, oh, okay, we're only looking a few hours. But actually, it's just, I think, holding off the inevitable change. That's my feeling.
Right, perhaps.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I was just going to say, just reiterating about the volunteers as well. I just find it so concerning that everything now is volunteers, particularly when the retirement age keeps going up and up. And traditionally in the past, a lot of people volunteered when they either took early retirement or they retired at 60 or 65 and they were fit and able to actually, you know, put a lot of energy into and give a lot back to their communities. That's going to get more and more tricky as the retirement age keeps heading upwards. And also, I think Councillor Elliott made a point on her email about the volunteers. It's, you know, in libraries in particular, you know, you need people, there are skills and training. You know, do you think you can just be volunteer, put your hand up and give the same level of service, you know, to the community?
DJ?
I would hate to say it, it is basically a sign of the times, isn't it? Yeah, again, another service at risk, another service that offers great value to community members. A library that people who haven't got resources at home like internet, if you haven't got internet, you're obviously the poor now, that's the great and the poor. So kids, young people who haven't got access to good internet or internet, use the library to do their work, to research and progress their life. And yet again, that's another thing that we're losing in the town potentially. It's hard times now, because if you look at other councils around the country, and in my spare time, I do like seeing how other councils work. A lot of councils have adopted a very similar model, like drastically similar. Like this is a copy and paste from I think like Kent or Leicester that's recently used. So we can all comment on the, you know, proposal, whether I'm pretty sure it's set in stone.
I propose that we draft a short letter for both organisations urging them to rethink, just draw on, say, bullet points from Councillor Elliott's letter from today, but keep it, I think, condensed, a single page.
Can I second that?
Yeah, there's a voting situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to be in agreement, all of you, that that's what you want to do.
We have a proposal to put a short summary together and send that, so proposed, seconded, all in favour?
Yeah.
Anybody against, abstentions? No, good. Right, for sure, that's it.
And just another point, was it last year when they closed the mobile library service, which was important for our, you know, rural communities where lots of people can't get out and about and they don't drive and whatever. We're told, well, we've got a very good library service in Ilfracombe, so then if that's taken away, it's
Yeah, small one, short term, so. Okay, any more on libraries?
No, just fill in the consultation yourselves as well.
Yeah, okay. Item 18, public consultation in relation to round 2 of community governance.
Yeah, so community governance review, we've been asked to mention it as many times as we possibly can. I think all the North Devon district councillors have been emailed and asked to publish it. It is the second round of consultation with regards to us going back from 2 wards into 3, so that be the reinstatement of the central ward. If anyone's unsure as to why we want to do that, now might be the time to ask, just in case you get asked by anybody. But the general basis, I think, as far as I understand, is it helps with our statistics and the level of deprivation. Not that we want to be shouting about it lots, but it does help funding. Because obviously, yeah, I mean, I'll probably be a bit more articulate on it than I am.
Well, that's, no, I don't think it does. I think
Okay.
it's nonsense. So many things now that we've already applied for, we can't get, and we don't apply because we're told that Barnstable well skews the figures. So whether we're community in 1 piece, 2 piece, 3 pieces or 6 pieces will make no difference at all to the vast amount of incoming finances.
Okay. That was nonsense then, sorry, I take it back.
Okay,
Only question, does it affect town councillors' election? There won't have to be an election, would there? Just because you've created a new ward, what happens? Because of everyone's,
well, at the
it
moment,
doesn't create any.
2/3 of us in here are from whatever it's called now, central or east, I
West.
suppose.
East and west.
Whereas now the old days, if we moved down, and it would have been June, I suppose, would have been
But,
east.
oh no,
Probably
it's central.
And that would have been central, but that's the thing.
Sam and I are west.
There's a little bit of politics at play, I think, to be honest, so I think that's possibly the driving force behind it.
Can I ask, did we propose this?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
As a council, you had to propose.
Say that they wanted it.
Yeah, no, I remember, but I was only just thinking, because we had a conversation separately about how do you go about proposing things? Because we've got an anomaly in Lee and Lincoln, whereby in the centre of the village, there's half a dozen properties that come under Morto, including him. He lives in the centre of the village, and he's in Morto and Willicombe Ward, has to go and vote. He lives next door to the village hall, and has to get in the car and go to Morto. Is it Morto or Willicombe you go? Morto. So that's mad. So how do we propose these
You
things?
now can't till the next community governance review.
So when do we know about it? And
Are you at another 10 years possibly, that?
so
It could be another 20 years.
What you just said.
When the campus, you either go to Morto and turn right into Yard Farm. Is it Yard Farm?
yeah,
Farm or something? And it's about half a mile down a little lane, and that's where everything starts, is about 50 yards from Morto Post Office.
Well, when I first went, I was going to have canvas it and I had a list of places to go. And I think they're not on my list, and they weren't on my list because of from Morto and they're in the centre of Lee. That's when I first think. I haven't a clue. But it's traditional to do streets and boundaries, but hey.
Unfortunately, we're past the point where we can make any other alteration.
Okay.
It's very much too far down the line now.
Okay, thank you.
So we as a council have voted and decided on a central. ward.
Yes. Yeah, you put the proposal through, it's gone through to North Devon Council. North Devon Council's done the first round of consultation, this is the second round of consultation, so it needs to be publicised to your constituents. So, and discussed at full council, which we have now done.
Okay, we proposed it.
Okay. And yeah, obviously, if there's anything that anybody wants and, wants us to do more of, but it's gone out on all of our social medias, we put posters up, outside of literally printing leaflets and canvassing. I'd rather not do that, I'm not sure we have.
Why is there got to be a certain percentage of replies before it goes any further? Why do you?
I don't know, I've not.
There's
I'm just.
less publicity about this and closing the libraries.
Yes,
You know,
I would imagine that the libraries are probably a bit more contentious and personal than whether or not it's a central east and west ward, so. But no, I'm doing as I'm asked.
Okay, so I don't see we can move that one forward, really, can we?
No, not really, it's more for, to be fair, it's review, agree that it's there, that you need to be pushing it out as well as councillors, if anyone asks.
Okay. Right, moving on to item 19, review and agree license or acceptance of license for the bandstand at Runnymede Gardens.
Yeah, so I was approached by Events for Ilfracombe. They had a gentleman who used to run the bandstand. I couldn't tell you his name off the top of my head. I've got a feeling that it's redacted, but this was their original license. They no longer want to do it. The bandstand isn't anything that gets charged for. It is just a space to be used. We would have to administer it if we decide to take on the license, but at the moment, there is nobody else to take it, so they're asking whether or not we would consider taking it on, so it's down to council to decide, and obviously I'll be very happy if there is a legal mind that might know and haven't read it. Just to give me some input, I'll be very grateful.
I have scanned read it. I mean, in principle, I like the idea. I think we'd take it over, we could possibly do more with it. But it just seems to be.
Are we able to charge?
Sorry?
Are we able to charge for it?
We get charged,
It's the other way around, don't you?
we get charged for the TPR.
Well, my concern is there seems to be an obligation to maintain, and it's not just the bandstand, if you look at the plan, it's actually the whole of the park.
So do we need to get further clarification on it?
I would not, I mean, if you would like me to look at it in a bit, I only read it once and those are, I would.
I'd be grateful if you can, because that's why I brought it to council, because I read it and there was parts of it I kind of got and parts I wasn't 100% sure, because it always referred to just the bandstand and that was my understanding, but I agree, when you look at the plan includes the entire of the Runnymede Gardens,
Indeed.
which is a completely different scenario.
It does talk about returning at the end of the licence period, the land to the condition that was in before, including paving stones and blah, blah, well.
Then-
That goes beyond the actual bandstands.
Okay,
License for what? Is it an alcohol license, music license,
Right, you occupy it.
just to occupy?
yes, license swap, fine. So it's to be able to use the bandstand for musical acts and things like that, so.
Yes,
But the previous sorry,
cool.
I was just gonna say, the previous person that had been running this certainly didn't have anything to do with Runnymede Gardens. So, and I know that for a fact, they literally just took bookings for the bandstand and that was it. So that's.
Well, I think it would be a case of clarifying and narrowing
Okay,
that agreement, so that if we are interested, it is just.
Councillor Crouch.
the bandstand.
I think I'd just probably say what Doris has said, I think the usual would be Anne Doody, if you wanted to put something on in the bandstand, you have to get Anne's permission. And she would have a little diary somewhere, and she would say, no, you can't have Tuesday, I've got something on. Which she's had enough, she's not doing it anymore, which is why this is raised its head, so it should be fairly simple. If Greg's, what you're saying is right, this could be a little bit of an unexpected devolution bid to just lob an extra £100,000 on our budget. Fortunately, we've saved £70,000 in staff costs, so if we sack the rest of the budget, we can probably keep the park open.
I think we'd have the volunteers.
Thanks for all you can actually use it at the moment, because they store stuff on the internet.
Yeah, it's always.
And there is, so.
I was gonna say, can we just bear in mind the most popular usage of Runnymede Gardens these days? It might not be such a great.
Summer Camping Festival.
Yeah, and camping zone, isn't it? So, just.
But that's £15 a night, at Big Meadow, this could be a market opportunity.
Well, I think, it was a kind offer of Councillor Schofield, if you want to just dig a little deeper, and we'll discuss it again.
Okay, so I'll put it down as we'll defer to January and then have a decision, and I will inform Northern Council of that.
Yeah, that's good. Unless we can break it in with the link centre.
Two different organisations, I'm afraid.
Oh, well, there you go.
3 years ago.
Right, 20 chair's discretion, we had several tenders for chair's discretion.
Yeah, do you want to start with Dan and then?
Yeah.
70+1.
Right, who would like to go first? We had,
I'll get that. I was contacted by a member of the public who asked if we could do anything regarding the sale of vapes to underage children in our high street. They've got quite a lot of stories of and evidence of under 14-year-old buying vapes in our town, and they wanted to look what we were doing as a council to stop it happening. So I said, I'll bring it to the council. Yeah.
is that something that Neil could,
I mean, I'm hard pushed to see how we have much influence outside of reporting it to the police, and we can do that via our town team and that group organisation. But we should be talking to, yeah, well, if it's Northern Council's licensing department is.
Right, that's the same with concern.
Yeah.
It's,
Fine.
okay,
concerned they're in breach of their licence, perhaps?
it's hard, well, you'd be hard pushed, I need to know exactly who it was, and that would take quite a lot of investigation, I think that would be being a little bit,
Hardline proof.
yeah, difficult.
Well, so, Chair, can I just come in? I mean, if we're writing letters of all that licensing, can we just say, I mean, what we like, I would have thought it's very easy, can we not just say?
Yeah, generically.
We've heard stories of kids 12 are running about, snitching like you can we have a little bit of enforcement if we can have a look? Quite a shout out Jackson there,
Well,
he's
yeah.
very in my shoes.
Yeah, I think I'm happy to kind of say something to licensing as a generic thing. I think saying somebody's breaching their license is a little bit harsh because we don't know who exactly is breaching that license. So,
It's not what I said, I said, but
We can do a concern from Ilfracombe Council then.
yeah, and I'll bring it up as part of town team as well, because the police do attend that meeting.
Okay, thank you, Dan. So George, you wanted to?
I just wanted to mention the Winter Wonderland event that goes from Park this weekend. It was absolutely fabulous, really wonderful. And an awful lot of hard work, all by volunteers, and all the musicians and it was all volunteers. And they worked really hard for a long time. And it's still there today and tomorrow, still clearing up. And on the point of clearing up, the committee had ordered, or they believe they'd ordered a bin from North Devon Council, which they thought they'd paid for. It didn't arrive, and when they contacted them today, they said, no, we didn't receive your email with the payment. It went into some junk email or something, so they didn't get it. And so they said, well, it's okay, it was about 25 of rubbish. We each take a bag home. The old mill tea room has a tray in there, we put a few in there. They were told if you put them into their bin, that's fly tipping. If you take them home, that's fly tipping. You're going to be fined. So they threatened to fine the committee unless the committee pays. Now, I got rid of most of it, about 6 bags there. They now have to pay for a collection, which is about 70 quid to take those 4 or 5 bags. And I think that's.
Any influence on anybody?
you have to reinvest for next year.
They actually said to Annie, if you're running these sorts of things, you should learn, you should know what you're doing. And my response was, we did get a license from North Devon Council to run the event. And there were lots of things that were ticked off. We had to have PRS music licenses and blah, blah, blah. Why wasn't there a tick box if you had to have a trade bin? But there isn't, but apparently we should have known that anyway, so. The event was really, really good,
and hopefully it'll happen
Yeah,
again.
it's superb. Any way we can help with that or push somebody?
I will get on to the department and have a model.
Rattle a saver.
I go to Mark, so Mark. Just like-
Mark
Yeah.
Clinton.
Mark,
Mark
yeah.
Clinton.
I would say district councillors, if you all had a battle, it's not just that event, great event. But any event in Acton, any organisation tries to do, North Devon Council, specifically North Devon Council, make it as difficult as possible at every hurdle. And I had a little attempt around the soapbox, but someone else took over, thank you. And North Devon Council, honestly, it was so hard just to get a simple answer from them. And to put on the Redmond community, for the people of the town that we serve, they put every obstacle in the way. So I understand the frustration of that committee to do this event, and the thing is, people do this event, they put more obstacles in the way. What happens if people go, I don't want to do it now, it's too hard? And that's when we start losing key events in the town. So it's annoying that, again, North Devon Council are deciding that, oh no, you've got to pay 70 quid now.
But it's also not very consistent, because when Ilfracombe and Bloom are doing their street stuff, North Devon Council Parks will come round with their van and they'll pick up the bags and they'll say, don't worry about it, we'll just pick up all the stuff, all the rubbish.
And so different departments.
That doesn't happen, they charge you, yeah.
So it's not, you know.
You could have reported to 6 bags of fly tipping yourself, Jordan.
But back in the days of Birdman, like North Devon Council was come along and basically clear up half the Birdman. Always very thankful to the staff who did it, it's in that they came along, did it, never an issue. One year, with a big bill. Out of the blue.
But councillor Quillis goes saber rattle. So hopefully, result. Thank you for that. That's it, leave Laura next.
Yeah, so I've got a few things I just want to highlight, and things that will probably either come up in the next finance general purposes meeting or the next full council meeting. But because I'm not here, I'm just going to say things so that you've got my 2 pennies worth and you can take it or leave it either way, or tell me it's nonsense, as some councillors do, who are not now listening. The first thing we've had through is we've had a letter from Devon and Cornwall Police in connection with the night bus. I will circulate this, it'll go through to finance and general purposes, but just to say that the night bus has been really successful from what I can gather from the letter, and you'll see it. They have seen 12,616 passengers broken down to over 4 areas: Exeter, North Devon, Plymouth and Torbay. We were second with the highest use outside of Exeter, which was 3,748 users, and that was to Ilfracombe and to Bideford. So that's really quite good. They've put the costings in. We did fund them at £500 last year through grants to run the service. I'd like you, and what I will put forward for finance and general purposes, is to consider whether or not you want to continue to do it through the grants process as you did this year, or whether you want to add it, because you've now got 1 month between December and you finalising your budget and preset, whether you want to put it in as a budgetary line to fund further on down the line.
Yeah.
I'm old enough to remember when Ilfracombe had 2 nightclubs. In fact, most of in this room are old enough to remember when it had 1 nightclub. And if you continue to fund a bus, which makes it effectively the only purpose of the night bus is so that the police, when you've got a police one down, it means that they haven't got to put anyone on the streets in Ilfracombe. That's the real function of the night bus. What it does, as a secondary thing, it means that Lucky's will never open again, and Modelco can open again, but you're never going to have a reasonable night entertainment for any of the youth in the town, because they can get into fever or whatever, Deacon might threaten to open again, but they will go there because they know they can get there and back for £3 and they get back at 2 o'clock in the morning. If you continue to fund that, you are shutting down the Queens, you are shutting down the Bunch, which some of you might take, but these places we don't necessarily go to, but if you are 18, 19 years old and you are full of testosterone, the Queens and the Bunch are your only choices in Ilfracombe unless you spend £6 on a bus. And I don't think that should be subsidised, I think that's nonsense.
Okay, one opinion, yeah.
I disagree. I think it's really important for, especially for women travelling on their own in the evening, to have somewhere safe. They've had very, very low instances of any trouble on that bus. And I think people are using it for, older people are using it for a night out as well. It's not just about nightclubs and young people, and I think that nightclubs here are dying anyway. They're even Barnstable, they're not what they were, so I think it's better for safety of people travelling around.
Trevor, the next.
Particularly women.
Yeah, I think it'd be good if we could support this, because I think it's a way for young people and older people to get out for one evening and to come back safely. And anything that avoids young people cramming into a car, going out on school, and an accident happening on the way back is worth avoiding. There are opportunities for, I think, for new business in the night economy, you know, I don't think this will necessarily prevent a new opportunity coming through, but I think it will give young people an option, which they don't really have without a night bus, because it would be too expensive to go by taxi. I just think it's a good and safe way of letting some young people have a night out.
Very good, next.
Yeah, I do sympathise with what Councillor Crabb had to say, but again, I've got some agreement with the other councillors' comments as well. It does work both ways. We had a friend who lives in Yelland, I think, who made the trip from there to Ilfracombe on Saturday night and got the night bus back as well. The people that are going to Vaughan. Admittedly, it's taking I suppose a bit of evening business away from Ilfracombe, but all told, I think I would be in favour of giving it further support. Although I'd still like to know a little bit more information about the people that are using it and whether it's all FEMA related or whether, you know, it's more significant other reasons for using it.
Yeah.
I do kind of agree with what Councillor Crabb does say, but I don't think we'll be seeing DJs or the club open up anytime soon, especially as all those venues we turn into hotels or flats. I will also say it's better to have a bus, a safe bus, than have loads of youngsters or older people as well. But everyone makes bad choices. To go in a car and have too many drinks and have an accident, that's potentially many lives at risk. So this night bus is an asset, considering we are quite a remote community. Let's face it, we're not going to be known for party life anymore in Ilfracombe, so it does give a link to where people can go out in Barnstable. And in fairness, better than go out in Barnstable and, you know, push up some pops in Barnstable than do it in Ilfracombe. So, my personal opinion on this.
Yeah, I think Councillor Scofield was on about the demographics. I think the really old ones amongst us go for dinner parties in Broughton.
Problem is, my bus is too empty, you're always by it.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, so that would be brought up at finance and general purposes, so it's just a subject to consider, and it will need some decision being made, because obviously if you decide to put it as a precept line, that's going to make a difference. Also in connection with precept, just to let you know, we did chase up the business rates because that has had a review. They still can't give us exact figures, unfortunately, so I have passed that to Carol to hopefully keep in touch with North Devon Council. They have got the valuations on, I think you can look up the valuation figures, but not necessarily the actual values. So we'll obviously try and get an answer before January. If not, we're just going to have to hope that our 5% increase we've put on the precept will cover any increase in business rates. There's something that I do, I'll do Menshed as well. That's something that they have, I don't know if any of you have noticed, but Dan took up the last space on the last board. So we do need to get another one, obviously, so that Mark can christen a new board. Rather than trying, unfortunately, finding anything to purchase that matches what we already have, we can't do. So I've approached the men's shed just to get an idea of whether they can make something. What I've asked them to do is to quote, put the finial that's on the top of that one onto this one, so that we can move one up, move one across, and then have a new one in place with the same design, so it looks uniform, because that one doesn't look particularly uniform to the original. They've come back and quoted roughly the whole project, depending on what they get, is between £350 to £520. That's something that I don't know if you want to consider when we bring it to I'll bring it to FNGP, obviously, and put it in the agenda, but it is just something that either you put it in as a budgetary line or you decide to take it out of reserves, but it's something that has to be done. And it'd be nice that we're using local people.
Are the same width?
Pretty much, yeah, they are. So we've measured depth and width and everything else, so that's why hopefully that moving them around will work. So, but it is something that we do need to kind of do. So, and it'd be nice to try and get some uniformity and somehow see if we can get our logo put on it and just make it look a little bit more regal than it currently does. If that makes sense.
Idea is possibly toss in because they live under lights. I don't know, will it make more sense to move those two paintings somewhere and stick it there, so there's a
yeah, potentially. I mean, where it goes and where we put it, that's that we can decide that later on down the line. I just kind of thought we've got quite a big expanse. We can figure that one out. But yeah. So yeah, just to let you know that that's something else that I'll be raising for you to consider. The last thing I wanted to raise, which happened on Thursday, which Mark and I attended, and I don't think any said. No, you weren't there at the Poverty Truth. So the Poverty Truth Commission has come to an official end, and they had their presentation on Thursday of last week. It was a limited number of people that they invited because they had to cater for it. But it was, and I don't know what your view is, but considering I'd only been involved in one particular meeting, it was really good, and I think it's been a really valid and worthwhile project. It's had a lot of buy-in from lots of organisations, from Devon County, from North Devon Council, from the ICB, from Coombe Coastal Practice, from the food bank. It's had a lot of input from a lot of people, and a lot of people are committing, North Devon Homes, and are kind of committing towards doing things in relation to what the outcomes have been for the Poverty Truth Commission. I'm going to ask James to come and do a presentation, because I'm very aware he did a presentation when he first started, which was obviously a year and a half ago. He's going to come in February, so I would please, and it will be before, so it'll be a 6 o'clock meeting, but I would really encourage you all to come. The videos that they've created with the civic commissioners is literally pulls on your heartstrings. It's really good, and it definitely has kind of, it's just had really good impact. And by that stage, you'll have the video of the presentation that happened and everything that took place on Thursday. There is a second side to this, which I will raise. I'll just share this so that you can see it. So what James has done, there were two aspects that came out of this, which was that were identified, which is having this multi-agency one-stop shop, which is what the Ilfracombe Centre was designed for. Which I think has kind of fallen a little bit by the wayside a bit, but what they've done is they've looked at it and how they've given their opinion on what they feel barriers are necessarily to wanting to come into the building and to getting access to the information and various things. So they've created this document, which I'll circulate round, and it will come alongside us. So I'm not expecting you to read all of this because it is however many pages, but it'll give you some insight as to what the thoughts are of everybody. But it comes along with what James has kind of decided. What's in orange on the left is what's been identified as some of the barriers that people have experienced. The bits in blue are some of the things that we can kind of make some tangible differences without a huge amount of expense potentially. And the green bits are where you're, you know, talking about getting actual physical people and, you know, hiring people and things. It's a broad overview. It's not necessarily something that we will definitely 100% do or that we're being forced into doing. It's just feedback on what's taken place. The Poverty Truth, though it has finished, is not finished, so to speak. The actual main work, which they did in 18 months, which was meant to take 3 years, so they've really compounded it and done it really quickly. But what it's done is there's been a real impact about people not wanting it to end, and that they don't want it to just end up being this talking shop where everybody says, isn't this great, we need to do something, but nothing then actually coming of it. So James is going to be staying with us for a bit longer, and we're going to be working on these groups and these things that have been identified, and they'll start taking form in the form of other meetings and other things. So I'll come back to you. I will be involved in everything to do with the Ilfracombe Centre, because obviously I'm very conscious that one person's opinion isn't necessarily what is we are feasibly able to do. But yeah. So just to let you know that's what I'll be doing, and this is why I think I've had that conversation about having a little bit of money in the budget, that we might want to make a few changes left, but I haven't got any tangible physical.
It was interesting,
value.
actually in one sentence for me, because there was a lot of good stories. It was all a very professionally well-run thing. And it's when people are looking for help, computer says no. And the idea is that it goes, the answer is no, but, and the but is where you can get help. And that was to do with this entire model. To do that, we could possibly help with resources in the way of build space.
And training, staff training.
Yeah. So I think it's a project worth supporting, you know.
So, but yeah, so
read.
Yeah, well, I'll circulate it, have a read, and come to that presentation in February. Please do come to that presentation. It's really worth listening to what. I mean, that's your job, isn't it? At the end of the day, is to listen to what your constituents are saying. I realise it's only one element of your constituents, but it's a quite vital element, and it'd be worth definitely being involved and listening to.
That could be achieved.
Yes, yeah, no, that's the positive thing. It does seem to be.
Right, thank you for that. Any?
Trevor.
So is this something we should be putting in a nominal amount into the budget for 26-27?
I did suggest it, and you've told me to take it out, so yeah.
Maybe you want to think about it.
Let me circulate it, and I'll get it out to you. You can discuss it if you want me to put it on as an agenda item for FMGP. I can. There's no specific value to any of this. Some of it can be quite small, minor changes. They're putting a training program together, for instance, which will enable, our staff could go on, which would enable them to understand and be more compassionate about certain things, to understand where other people are coming from, to be able to signpost better, potentially. So that's a small thing that wouldn't cost a huge amount of money, but that's something that we could do. Charmaine's already started. I don't know if you'll notice, well, some of you might have noticed that some of your pictures have gone in the window on Moorfield Road. Sorry, it's not favouritism. You're all on the inside now, and those of you that have got old photos, there's about 4 of you, you're still welcome to get a new photo if you wish. But obviously that window is changing, and I don't know if you've noticed, we're going to put some lighting up so you can see it in the dark, but that's very much an information window, so that instead of those people that have those barriers to coming into the building, at least that information is available and accessible to them. So if they feel they can't come in or they need it out of hours, that type of information is readily available, and we'll keep growing that and keeping on top of that. So, and that's such a small change, really. It's it's a few pieces of A4 and A3 paper that goes in a window. And maybe some uplighters, which would be teaming.
Wouldn't go on this.
But yes, the budget would be lovely, obviously.
The new Jeffrey's, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit like the new Jeffrey's window, but it's very much, Charmaine's made it very, very pretty.
Well, it is the NDT, so I'm going to help you.
They are there, they're there 3 days a week,
Yeah, well, this is where it's.
and we now have housing committed to every Tuesday and CNU here every other Thursday. Well, yeah, absolutely.
So it's going well, so thank you for that, Laura, so, actions from this meeting, was that those?
They'll be in the minutes.
I close the meeting, 20:52.
Thank you, everybody.
This new mayor, amazing.